Hey everybody, it's Colby. I'm an aspiring fantasy and science fiction author if you haven't seen me before, and I'm a relatively new writer. And today I want to talk about Worldbuilder disease. You may have heard that term before. If you haven't, it is something that happens often to science fiction and fantasy authors, and I think particularly to new authors. The reason it's called world building disease is we're often creating, if you're fantasy, you're literally creating worlds. If you're science fiction, you're doing a lot of heavy work on that world building for the science or futuristic aspect or whatever subgenre of science fiction you're in. And it is easy to fall in love with that and then spend way too much time on it and never actually write the narrative of your story, which is the part that matters. I mean, all of it matters, but the part that's gonna sell the book is the story, and probably the part that you'll be more excited about once you start doing it. So, I think there's a reason for this. Those who are writers are often doing it because of the creative outlet and the fulfillment that it provides in that creative outlet. And nothing feels more creative in the moment than making up a world. And a lot of times people use the excuse of, if I fully develop this world, I will understand my characters more and where they fit inside of it and be able to write a better story. And though I don't doubt that that is true, when it gets in the way of actually writing the book, I think it's a problem. This is something that I don't really have too much of an issue with this, and it's probably to a fault. First off, I tend to discovery write, which if you've never heard that before, it means I come up with the idea and then I'm building the world and sometimes the characters as I go and figuring it out as I go and molding it to make it look like I knew what I was doing the whole time in the second and third and fourth draft. Those who are outliners, or sometimes they call them plotters versus pantsers because you're on the seat of your pants. Yeah, I think that's the right phrase. So plotters or outliners, they are the ones that sometimes suffer from this because they're planning how to go beforehand. I do want to give you a tip for those of you out there who might be a new writer. Let's say, here's an idea. This is something that I have done before on some of the books that I outlined a little bit more than Discovery Write, which was the most recent book I wrote. I outlined more than I'd ever done before. And I can see it's easy to slip into this. So here's my suggestion. When you world build an aspect of your world, right after you finish a reasonable amount, enough to where you could write even a short story in that space, I want you to do that. And when I say short story, it can be from your protagonist. Just write one of your chapters that you have planned in that space. Because I guarantee you, when you try to write the narrative, you're gonna realize that there was stuff missing in your world building. You're either gonna realize there was stuff missing that you can now fill in, or you didn't need as much as you thought in that moment. It's good to know eventually, but you don't need it right now. And that'll help you as you go on to find the adequate amount of world building you need to do. So you can either do it from your protag, or you can just make up two characters and write a scene. Doesn't have to be a full short story, like literally just a scene in that space. If you create a market, you can choose a vendor and write from his point of view of selling a piece of fruit or a piece of fruit getting stolen and how he deals with that. Just a scene. That is gonna get you excited to then write more of the story because you're in that narrative flow rather than the world building flow. So that's something that I've done before that helped me a lot. Something else, and I kind of just mentioned this, I don't think you need to know about the world as much as you think. Unless you're writing something like the Stormlight Archive, where the fans are so hyper focused on it that they're like meticulously going through every single detail that Sanderson put in the books. You might think you're writing that. Maybe you are writing that. Still, you can develop a lot of that stuff as you go, or after the fact. I promise you. There's stuff that I learned about my world after I wrote the first draft, and then you can use that to revise. If you spend countless hours creating this world that you don't end up needing, it's not a waste of time, but it is a constraint on the limited time that you likely have. Does that make sense? I hope so. Now I feel like I'm just telling you not to world build. You should definitely do some world building. It's extremely important. But that was my dog, if you heard that. Anyway, that was it. That's what I got. I'll see you guys next time.